They're good Sunday morning from Atlantic Canada Cooks. My name is Michelle Alcorn. I'm here in my kitchen in Lower Coverdale, New Brunswick. And what an amazing day today is. And first of all, my mom's here with me. We'll get mom to come up and say hi. That's always a blessing to have a chance to spend time with my mom. We're going to be talking about tapas today, which is Spanish for appetizers, finger foods. So it might be one of our favorite episodes because we cook all of our fun favorites.
That's right.
Right? It's also Father's Day here in Canada and around the world. So a huge happy Father's Day. Good morning, Shinobu in Japan. And especially to Jawad Marksi, who's our good friend, production manager on the back end, keeps us going. And I know he'll be celebrating not just Father's Day, but Eid in his culture in Morocco. So we just want to say, get together with friends, family, all of the people you love, and enjoy some good food.
Right.
So what are we cooking today? Not only are we cooking some amazing food, we're always exploring culture. And we're so excited to have a guest. Sheena's going to introduce herself here in a few minutes. But on our tapas menu, I'm going to do one experimental recipe, and we're excited about it. And I've got the thing up here, all the ingredients, and that's a Brazilian cheese bread. And they come out like little cheese bites. So Dainty Bites, hello, follow her on Instagram. She makes great recipes. So we're gonna make those. We're gonna do a beautiful Korean barbecue flavored steak. And I know that's something my dad would have loved was barbecue. Both my grandfathers as well. So we're gonna do a little homage to some of those favorite foods. And then last night in the test kitchen, one of our favorite parts, we're gonna do some puff pastry stuffed with a few different things, which are just beautiful to put on a tapas bar. And we've got one set up here. We're gonna show you a little more details about that. We've got some amazing different easy things that are already ready. Olives, pickles, some beautiful cheese. But we're going to build it with a little bit more fun things. And we're also going to do some Brussels sprouts. And I know that's fun because I love converting people into food that they don't necessarily realize how awesome it is. But guess what? Brussels sprouts are like little baby cabbage. And we're going to do these up with some beautiful balsamic vinegar, roast those in the oven, and hopefully maybe change your opinion on a Brussels sprout. But really will be nice to add into our tapas. So we want to have some healthy things. We've also got a few things pre-made we're going to talk about, but we're going to give a shout out to the wonderful Luis at Deliceur. Wow. This is one of the empanadas. And this is all stuff with tenderloin.
Was he pushed?
I think we're addicted to it.
Yeah.
So thank you to Luis in there. And then check out Maria for her wonderful, delicious treats that we always love as well. Sweet treats, right? So we're going to put these aside. Sheena, I think Sheena's there. We're very excited. You always see flowers from MacArthur's. And guess what? We have our wonderful roses that are still looking unbelievable from MacArthur's, because when Sheena made that bouquet for us, she purposely had put those flowers in that recipe. Well, guess what? Sheena's cooking food today. So Sheena, if you want to hit unmute, say hello to our audience and tell us what delicious Caribbean dishes you're going to spoil us with.
Good morning, everyone from the Maritimes. So today I'm actually cooking food today. I'm using very traditional to the Caribbean from my island of Antigua. And I'm going to show you, well, today it's definitely not appetizers. This is pretty heavy meal that I will be cooking. So today we have some plantains. We have some yam, cassava, and sweet potato. We call this ground provision, anything that's grown in the ground like a root. We call it ground provision. And we have some Caribbean dumplings. We're going to be boiling them today. And this is snapper fish. This is very traditional for us to cook the fish whole with the head still on. I know in North America, that's not very common, but it's very normal in the Caribbean. And these are just some seasonings that I have here. And ginger is something that we cook with a lot. And also, I'm going to be making, this is a traditional Caribbean drink. It's called sorrel. Typically, we make it mostly at Christmas time, so that's when it grows and it's harvested. This is in the dry form. This sorrel, and this is some bay leaf. But in the Caribbean, we call it Christmas bush. I have cinnamon, nutmeg, and some more ginger. And here we have the sorrel. It's soaked in hot water, usually for a few hours before we go back to add the spices, and then it's refrigerated. And I will see you soon, where we'll start cooking this amazing dinner today.
Sheena, I am so excited about that. I love that you're showing the fish cooked that way, because if you really go into some of the villages and where there's a lot of local fishing, you'll see a little bit of it here, but not nearly as much as we should. And when I first ate fish with Jawad in Morocco, we were pretty much picking the fish that they were going to cook for us. It was an amazing experience. And to your point, the flavor and the richness really stays in there. So we're going to be excited to go back and forth between Sheena's kitchen and ours. And maybe Mom and I will take a drive after and actually go taste the food. Right? So we're going to start our Brazilian cheese puffs, but we're just warming up a burner. For one of our, for our puff pastry, we need to get a mixture of meat cooking. So right now I've got a burner warmed up on the back, or it's getting warmed up. And I'm looking for my onions, and they're under my steak. So in here, I have cut up onions, and I didn't dice them. I've cut them sort of in that long format. And the reason why I want them this way is because I'm really going to caramelize these onions. We're going to use them as a filling that's going to be going inside of our puff pastry. So, and then of course, the other thing I have in here is some garlic. So we're going to just cut that garlic up, and I'm going to get Mom to put those onions and this garlic together in the pan. The other thing that we're going to get cooking is some beautiful mushrooms. So as we know, mushrooms are sort of that, you see how much is in the bowl? They'll cook down to half. So we're going to get these cooking in another frying pan there in the back, Mom. If you could just get that burner warmed up as well. I'm going to move my tapioca flour out of the way here for a second. So what I'm going to do with the garlic is I'm just going to do a thin slice. So I don't need to mince the garlic as well. I actually love in these puff pastries to get a little piece of that cooked garlic. It gives some more texture and lots of beautiful flavor. But we're going to caramelize this down with the onions and the mushrooms. Mom is going to cook the onions in a separate pan to the mushrooms at the beginning, because we want to keep the flavor of both. And I love onions and mushrooms together, but if you cook them together, they kind of take on each other's flavors. So we're going to cook them separately, and then we're going to combine those together to go into our filling with some cheese. So we all know how much Michelle loves garlic. Well, this is it's a handful of chopped garlic. So that would be the proportion I'm using. And I'm going to split that between the mushrooms and the onions. And I now have garlic flavored water, because that piece went right into my water. So Mom, I'm going to come in behind you. Looks good. And we'll get some oil in that, that's right, don't worry about that. Just, there we go. And we're gonna do the mushrooms in that pan. So we're just gonna, she's gonna get those cooking down. I usually use thyme, that's kind of one of my favorite herbs, but I also I really do love oregano, and I got this beautiful package of dried oregano. And this is the flavor I'm gonna be using today in some of these recipes. So Mom, there's lots at the bottom. You can just kind of turn it over and shake it like a giant shaker. So that's our filling that's going to go into our puff pastries. And Mom and I had a lot of nostalgia last night because as we were getting this together, I said, this is the way we eat a lot in the evenings in Morocco. And it's wonderful because there's all these wonderful pastries filled with different things. And I would get very excited over that. So we're going to make some of those. So let's start our Brazilian cheese bread. And a little hello to Melanie Good, who's the academic director at Atlantic Canada Language Academy. She's leaving for Brazil tomorrow morning, where she's going to be taking a little vacation, and then she's going to do some work from there. And I'm excited because we're making a Brazilian cheese bread. She can tell me how it works out. So the ingredients in this, it's interesting because there's a flour called the tapioca flour, and this is made from like a legume, so it's gluten-free, very healthy, and it's very fine. I need to be it is so fine. It's almost like an icing sugar feeling to it. So in this recipe, we're going to put half a teaspoon of salt, 1 egg, and I already cracked the egg into the blender. So I'm eyeballing a half a teaspoon of salt here. This is a salt grinder. And when you're baking, you need to be proper with your measurements. So if it's asking for those measurements, we want to make sure they're there. And we're going to do 3/4 of a cup of milk. So it might be gluten-free, but this is definitely not a dairy-free recipe. So I'm going to put this into here. I'm going to put that together. So right now I've got the milk, 1 egg, and now I need to put 1/3 of a cup of olive oil. And if you have a feeling, I'm going to get my big bottle out. So, and the olive oil is going to be going inside the mixture. And I know this is going to help it form properly. And you can use a vegetable oil if you want. It's also going to help make sure that they don't stick to the pan. So I have not put the flour in yet. So what I'm going to need to do right now is I'm going to take this over and I'm going to give it a little mix together of these wet ingredients. And then I'm going to add 1 1/3 cups of my tapioca flour. And then of course at the end, I've got, now this is really stuck here, about 1 1/4 cups of 3 different types of cheese that I've put in here. So I'm going to tell you about those cheeses in a second, but I kind of crushed them down. So we want that. And that's really going to give that bread that extra cheesy flavor. So I'm just going to do a second on that blender. Right, Mom, how's everything cooking there, Mom? You want me to do it? How's everything? Girl. I was gonna put the mushrooms in that. Oh, the mushrooms. Yeah. So Mom's getting the mushrooms. I get to pass her the mushrooms. Here you go, Mom. Oh. Maybe turn that front pan down a bit. So a quick blend in the mixture. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the tapioca flour. And I have to say, it is so white. Awesome. And this is a very light type of flour. And I think that this is what gives these little bites. I'm going to say they're like a little pillow. So we want to get them into the oven. So there's our cup. And I need 1 1/3 cups of flour. We're going to put into here. And I hope you can see how dusty that flour is because that came right back up. And I love it because I think we're gonna have a lot of extra of these, which we always want to have. So good floury messy today. So this again, just a couple more seconds in the blender just to get the flour mixture mixed in. And then I'm gonna run the cheese through it. And you're not looking to over mix it. And as you see, that is very fast. It really only takes a few seconds. And I'm just going to take a spatula and make sure that we get all the stuff off the sides. That's a really great consistency. The batter will be thin. I just want to stress that the batter will be very thin batter. And you know, Mom, I know you were talking about greasing the pan, and I think I might use a little spray. Yeah. Some of us use a cooking spray. So that's perfect. I'm now going to add the 1.25 cups of cheese. My cheese is stuck to the bottom. That's the fontina. So I used a really nice fontina. It's very soft. I used a smoked Gouda. And then I used a old cheddar and a plain Swiss. So I got, ooh, that smells amazing. So one of the things with this here is I'm going to put this literally for a second to get the cheese blended in, but I don't want to break the cheese up. So this is the fast one. We'll get the cooking oil. If I could find it. Here we go. Okay. So it smells amazing. We wish we had smell-o-vision in this kitchen. Do you see my pan anywhere? Get them to pass me over the pan. So what I have is this is like a little baby muffin tin. And if you see, it's like ends up a very small size. So, and this is just a, hopefully it'll spray right. There we go. It's just a cooking spray. This one's actually avocado oil because these are going into a 400-degree oven. So we want to make sure that that pan doesn't stick. I'm just going to take this out. The mixture looks delicious. And we're just going to pour this in. So while I get these in, I just want to show you, we're going to top each one up. You can see the chunks of cheese going in. It's amazing. And when you're doing the recipe, you want to mix it immediately and put it in. If not, the cheese is going to settle to the bottom. And you definitely want to make sure that you're getting a mix of each one. Now I'm filling each one of these to the top. And then they're going to puff up, hopefully perfectly. And they're going to take about 15 minutes. So Sheena, while I'm getting this done, can we go visit your kitchen and have a look at what's going on and how your recipe is coming together?
Yeah, sure.
And I have a feeling the woman that did this recipe measured it perfectly because this is going to fit this pan. We're also excited that Michelle's been doing her yoga because everything's getting heavy right now. Look at that. Thanks, Mom. I am very excited about these. Look at that. Absolutely perfect. So we're going to put these into a 400-degree oven. Sheena, tell us what's cooking in your kitchen.
Okay, so we're just going to start getting the dumplings prepped. So our water is ready. And this is how we roll the sides just to make it flat. This water already has some oil and salt. And you drop these in. This is an art, by the way. I can't tell you where I learned it from. I think Every Caribbean child is just born with the skill of knowing how to make dumplings. Okay. And over here, I also have my plantain frying. It's also a Caribbean thing that you don't turn your back on the plantain because for 2 seconds and you turn around and they're burnt. I'm gonna get my fish in the pan. This is a red snapper. And I'm just gonna give it a light sear, not necessarily frying it. I'm gonna leave that for a few minutes on one side. Remember, check on your plantains. We typically fry plantain when it's ripe or overripe because we love when it's sweet. Let me get some more of these dumplings in. When they start cooking, they start floating to the top. So you can see that the ones that we put earlier are already starting to float to the top. Don't forget to check on your plantains. Our fish is coming along nicely. You get the rest of these dumplings in. And the mixture for the dumplings are very simple. It's white flour, typically white flour. You can also use wheat. Butter, a little butter sometimes, a little salt, and also a little baking powder. Not too much because you don't want it to be too fluffy. Give it a stir, make sure all of them are covered. And we're gonna cover it. Foil. Don't forget to check on your plantains. Okay. So for our fish, we're gonna give this a turn. Okay. Remember, just a light stir. We're not frying. Okay. So we'll leave that to cook, and we'll see you back soon.
Sheena, that looks amazing. And don't forget to check on your plantains. Just saying. I love that. We're going to turn that into something fun here at Atlantic Canada Cooks, along with food is meant to be sauced. So speaking of that, my mother has, we've got the beef and onion mixture cooking in the back. It's going to be one of our stuffing for puff pastry, which I'm going to show you here in a few minutes. There is the beautiful mushrooms and onions cooked down. That wonderful garlic is in there. And what I'm going to be doing, this is it, and I should have chose a different color plate, but there you go. You can see the sticky brie. So this is a really soft cheese, which is lovely. And it has what I like to say, like a bit of a nutty taste. So, and it's really hard to cut because it's already soft. But I'm just going to run my knife so I can break it up a little bit. And I'm going to put it right into the hot onions and mushrooms that are here with the garlic mixture. And we're gonna try to get it's sticking. The onions, there we go. And mushrooms on top of that brie. So that's gonna melt a little bit and create, which will be a little bit of a cheesy onion mushroom sauce, because this is what's gonna go inside one of our puff pastries here in a minute. And I'm just gonna ask Jawad, I know there's a couple people, if you could hit the mute button for them, that would be really helpful. So we're just gonna sit this over here and use your judgment that it's cooked.
Yeah.
Mom's checking with me on it's cooked. She taught me to know when it's cooked.
You want it in a bowl?
So she's just gonna get that ready for us to be able to show you, and we'll be putting that in. I'm gonna get the puff pastry out of the fridge now. I haven't had it out because if your puff pastry is out too long, it's hard to work with. Trust me, I've done it. And I'm just gonna ask you, if you wouldn't mind hitting mute for Greta, that would be awesome. Just because we see the camera flipping around. How's our YouTube audience doing? We love people coming in and checking us out on YouTube. We are so excited about our new website page. And make sure you're telling your friends to sign up for our newsletter. We've got great recipes every week. And we really want to help people get engaged and have a little bit more fun connecting with food. So what I'm going to be doing with the puff pastry is I have a parchment sheet out here because I find that makes life easier when it comes to things sticking. And you've got a burner on still back there, Mom. So I am just going to put a little bit of olive oil across this parchment and run my fingers over it to spread it around. That's just going to make it a little bit easier when I put the pastries on so that they don't stick. And really they can slide off the pan and into your hand. So we're going to put this here, sit this here. And these are wonderful puff pastry. I've often bought different brands from here. I was at the Arabia store in Moncton, and he has these wonderful ones that are imported. So I'm excited to use these puff pastries, shells. Again, Michelle's not a baker. So they come out in individual sheets. Of course, now I'm going to try to do it and have a hard time with it. There we go. I like it because the sheets are orange colored. So you can see them peeling off. So the kitchen hack move is the pastry is already made. So what I'm going to do is I can take and set that pastry right on to the pan that I already have greased, because what that's going to do is it's going to allow me to put my stuffing in it and then fold it over so I can make some of these. So we're going to do 4 of these up for now, because I like these when they're baked fresh and they come out of the oven and they're still a little warm, right, Mom? The Test Kitchen, Atlantic Canada Cooks Saturday night test kitchen fun that we have. We often taste test a recipe before. Mom, do you want to peek at our cheese puffs just to see how they're doing? We're very curious. They're about partway through. When I was growing up, my mom would be in the kitchen and we would always want to look at what's in the oven. And she'd have to tell us to stop opening the oven. They're looking good, because we would let all the heat out. So I do remember that.
Yeah.
And speaking of food memories, we were talking about memories from our childhood and different people. And my grandfather, Alcorn, and my Aunt Greta's here. So it would be Greta's dad, my father's father. He loved to bake. So it was really fun to go up to my grandfather's and you would walk in and you could really always smell either muffins or different things baking, and roast beef. He's a great roast beef maker and we love that. So food is memory. So we hope that you're taking opportunities to create dishes that you grew up with your family and for generations. And I love it because I think we've kept a lot of the generational recipes. Maybe we use a little less fat or lard in a few things, but at the end of the day, we love honoring those traditional recipes. As Sheena was saying, I love that comment. I think children are just born in Antigua to make dumplings. So, and speaking of kids from there, her daughter's going to be coming in, Ayani, who's got lots of energy and fun, and she's going to show off some of her recipes in the future. So stay connected so you'll learn a little bit more about what we're doing. So hopefully you're watching me here, and what I'm going to show you I've done, because it smells unbelievable. I'm very excited. Oops, I'm always excited though. Come on. So I'm also knocking over the onions out of it. So I've got the 4 puff pastries. On 2 of them, I have the brie, onions, and mushrooms with that beautiful dried oregano. So I'm going to fold this one up. And over here, we have the ground beef with the onions and garlic. And I just threw a couple of mushrooms in each one of those so that we would have a little bit more of those flavors. Now, you can choose different ways to do these. So this little one, I'm going to pull up and I'm going to put a little knot at the top. And that one's going to come out a little bit like a parcel. And some of these other ones, what I like to do is roll the sides up. I show you here and leave just a little bit open in the middle. This puff pastry is amazing because it sticks together really well. But for this one, I'm just going to leave the top open a little, and that way that cheese will bubble out a little bit. And then on these ones, again, the puff pastry is really easy to work with. And you can just fold it over almost like an envelope. And you're going to get a beautiful, and you just want to seal the ends because we don't want all the stuff to run out, right? The good stuff. And then whatever type of dip that you want to use with these. Last night, Mom, I think we just ate them.
Yeah, we did.
Food is meant to be sauced, and Helen and Michelle did not even sauce anything. So there we go. I'm going to fold this one up and pinch those edges. So we're going to put those 4 into our 400-degree oven right now with our puffs that are 5 minutes away. Wow! She's right. Now everybody's curious on the screen. So Mom, can you hold this? They're still 5 minutes away. I just need to move the pan. There we go. Wow. They look amazing, but I'm not going to keep it open long. And you're going to have to wait 5 more minutes to see those Brazilian cheese puffs. Mom, if you can see the look on her face, she's like, very excited.
Yes, I am.
Good food, good eats. So this is some of the filling. I'll be able to move these out of the way if you don't mind, Mom, because we're going to be using those later. My puff pastry came in a package with 15 sheets. So it's wonderful. I have watched amazing, talented cooks make these pastries. And I think you're amazing. But Michelle will buy her phyllo or her puff pastry. And it's great to support local and the stores that are bringing those in. So these go back in the refrigerator because we want to keep them really, really good. So I'm going to talk a bit about this. One of the other things is doing a Korean beef recipe. So we've got a beautiful steak. These are wonderful local steaks that we can get here. It's got some really nice marbling. And I'm using like a Korean barbecue flavor profile. And it's actually really quite simple. I do suggest that you marinate it for at least 4-5 hours or wonderfully done overnight. Of course, a little bit. So this is granulated garlic. So remember, not garlic, salt. We want to be able to control the salt. And I'm going to be using some soy sauce in this, which is a little bit salty. So what I'm just going to do is I'm going to put a nice layer And when I say layer, making sure that the garlic is all over this. The other ingredient that I'm going to use is some beautiful ground ginger. And that might have been a little too close to my nose. This is ginger I brought back when I was traveling on my last trip from Morocco. It's such a rich, rich scent. Remember, ground ginger is very powdery and it's very healthy for you. So we're going to put a little bit of ground ginger across the top of that. And we want to hear about your food stories, where you bought a spice or experienced a recipe when you were traveling and how it brings you great memories and things to share with others. So the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put some fresh cracked pepper. I am going to repeat these same ingredients on the other side. And what I also have is some ground onion flakes. There we go. I want a bit of a nice onion flavor. So we've got some onion flakes here. And I'm just going to sprinkle the onion flakes across the top. And again, once that sits, that wonderful flavor is going to come through. So this is a ponzu sauce, which is really a soya sauce. And thank you so much. Shinobu introduced me to this sauce when she was here cooking with Mom and I in our kitchen. And I love it because it's like a wonderful soya sauce with a little extra Japanese or Oriental flavor. And it's already has some lime in it. I can see Shinobu smiling. I hope you know, Shino, every time I use this, you're in my heart and you're in my recipe. So big love with that one. So we've got this across here. We do want to add a little bit of sweet, and honey is easy to use, but of course we're here. So Michelle's going to make a little bit of extra Canadiana in this recipe. And I'm just going to drizzle a little bit of a maple syrup across the top of it. But I would use honey just instead of sugar. We try to do recipes here in Atlantic Canada Cooks where it just reduces that. What a hand, Mom?
I can't
So
hold on to it.
we're going to getting ready here because I know our pups are done.
Want to bring it in.
Here we go. And they look amazing. Wow. In the middle of our recipe, we're going to pause for incoming.
Oh.
Wow. Look at these.
Oh,
Ooh, hot, but perfect. Dion, I see he brought his camera back on. He's like, if only we could deliver these. Those were very easy. I hope everybody saw how easy this. They smell so good.
Let me smell. Let me smell. Oh my God.
So they're hot.
Yeah, you just
We're gonna put one of these off to the side and put this up. So it's not somewhere hot. And we're gonna get those out to put on our board. Oh, wow. Look at this. They're absolutely perfect. Those were in for 18 minutes. And you can see the bread and then that beautiful cheesiness. And it's got just the golden brown. I can't wait to bite this. But they're hot. The golden brown in the bottom. And that's a little bit of that cheese getting a little crunchy. They're even better than I thought. So thank you for that recipe from Dainty Bites. Wow.
the repeat offender.
I'll give Mom the other half of that.
Okay.
And she's gonna run that little bit. And I know those are gonna be, and anybody coming to visit Michelle, this will be definitely something that we'll continue to use in the future. And they're absolutely amazing. So let's go back to our steak before we go back and see Sheena here and see how everything else is going in her kitchen. So we have those beautiful puff pastries in the oven. And Mom, we need to make sure we set the timer on that. People often ask me, How are you so good with time, Michelle? Well, it's not that complicated. I use a timer a lot. So that helps me start to get comfortable with how long things take. So this steak is going to sit here. I want that to marinate for a little bit. So we did a little Food Network fun kind of switch. Thanks, Mom. And this is one I did last night. So we're going to take that one. We'll cook that later. Actually, you can freeze that with the marinade if you like as well. So Sheena, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a warning. We're going to come over to your kitchen and check on your recipes. So as you can see, it's funny because those dried onion flakes have now sort of rehydrated. But there is the beautiful, you can see it's got a little bit of the marinade that's still kind of on the bottom of it. So we're going to sear this steak. We're going to get a burner on here. And actually, this would be amazing on the barbecue. But what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to sear this one and then lay it out in slices because that'll be beautiful for my tapas menu. The other steak that I did, I'm probably going to cube it up and I'm going to make skewers. So just remember, when you've got a good piece of beef and this is a really nice thickness, you can cook it in a couple of different ways, and that's going to be really great. So I'm calling on Sheena in her kitchen and realizing that she's not able to unmute. So I'm going to keep going. In here, I've put on a little bit of a canola oil in the pan because it's a really high smoking point that we're looking for to get that beef initially seared. And I always warn people that olive oil, sometimes you have to watch because it can burn. Oh, and there's Sheena. So I'm going to sear the meat. And when we come back, we're going to talk about those amazing Brussels sprouts. Sheena, that looks beautiful. Please tell us a little bit more about it.
Okay, so here we have our plantain is ready. We have our cassava, sweet potato, and boiled dumplings. And we're gonna just add our fish is ready. That looks so amazing.
Sheena, can you tell us what we're seeing while you're doing that?
So this is our fish. It's been sauteed. We added the onion, sweet pepper, carrot, ginger, thyme, and it just looks amazing. This is a complete meal. And our sorrel drink, it's ready. And just to keep it Canadian, we're adding it to a mason jar. Yeah, but this is our meal completed. And this is a typical Sunday lunch. Amazing.
Sheena, that looks absolutely awesome. Wow.
Thank you.
Like seriously. And it's sort of the do you deliver moment and feeling that's going to be going in there. Sheena, we'll get you to come say hey at the end. In Timerland, Mom, watch that. It's 8:19. We're going to get this steak on there. And what I usually do when I'm searing the meat is I'm giving it a good timing. So I'm going to do 2 minutes either side. So when I'm cooking meat, because I want a nice medium rare in the middle, is as long as I make sure I'm doing the same time on both sides, you'll get a really beautiful middle of that meat. And again, we're using a good steak. So I think that this is going to be delicious. 18, 19, so it's 17. I'm watching Mom over by the cheese pot.
I'll look at the late one.
I already took him. I think these are the things in the kitchen. If someone knows they're there, you're just going to walk by and pick them up. I'm really excited about those as a recipe. So, in the time we have left, let's talk a bit about Brussels sprouts. In here, we've got enough Brussels sprouts for Mom and I. One of our good friends, Sean, He doesn't get to see his kids today. They live in another city. He's after golf. Always golf. He's gonna pop over and we're gonna see how Sean likes Brussels sprouts. So I love these because they're like little tiny cabbages. And really all I'm gonna do with them is I'm gonna cut them in half. So, and that exactly is what's gonna happen. Some of the leaves are gonna come off, but that's okay. Because the way we're gonna do this recipe is some of those end up the best flavored ones. So we've got them in here, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. And I'm gonna put the olive oil on first and just stir them around a little bit so that they all get coated in it, because that's really important. And then I'm gonna add some of our seasoning. And because the olive oil is on the Brussels sprouts, it's gonna help the seasoning stick to it. Because if you just put the seasoning without the oil, it'll all sink to the bottom of your pan. You're gonna see some similar garlics coming back to the party. So we're gonna put a little bit of garlic powder again in there, powder, not garlic salt. I'm gonna add a little salt, but that's me adding the salt. So right now I've got the garlic powder and I'm looking for my pepper shaker. So I love fresh ground pepper. So we're gonna put some nice fresh ground pepper. Thank you, Mom. Look, she's reading my mind. She already knew I was looking for the salt. This is where, though, I will tell you, I love using, I've got some different salts here from different local places. And let's see. Oh, this is one from Nova Scotia, from Tidal Salt, a piece of Nova Scotia. So, and hopefully you can see inside this is sea salt. And then in this one, it's called Fire. So it's going to have a little heat. Probably not too much. So I'm going to use a little bit of this beautiful spicy sea salt that's going to go across those. And that's going to be amazing. So the last thing I'm going to do is I put these in a pan with parchment. So that same idea that we don't want everything to stick. Remember, I put a little bit of olive oil on my, switch my hand positioning, on my Brussels sprouts. There we go. And what we want to do is make sure the Brussels sprouts are pushed across the pan. And sometimes I make them all sort of flipped over the same way for the first side of roasting. That's just me being, if I had 50 of these, I might just throw them in. So we're going to turn these over so the bottom side is down. And the other thing we want to make sure is there's a little bit of space between them so that they're going to roast up really nice. I have to tell you, it smells unbelievable behind me. Now, the next ingredient I'm going to use in these is interesting because this is where the sweet comes in. And we're using something a little bit different. Is I'm using, and hopefully you're gonna be able to see, this is a balsamic, but this is a balsamic reduction. So to be honest with you, when I'm done, and I show you, and you can see this, it almost looks like I'm putting chocolate sauce on the Brussels sprouts, which by the way, many people would be like, I might eat a Brussels sprout if you put chocolate sauce on it. But this is, and I love using the reduction for this. This is a great one. Mama's something drizzle. That beautiful pan. It looks absolutely amazing. That's really going to stick to each one of those Brussels sprouts. So we're going to put these in that 400-degree oven. And they're not going to take that long. They're probably going to take about 15, 20 minutes. I'll bring them out just as we wrap up the show here. Mom, I'm going to put these in. I just got to check on our puff pastry. Looking good. And they smell delicious. So I just want to Mom's asking me questions here.
I think that it can be, I put some done.
Yeah, just leave it a little bit. It's fairly thick. It's pretty much done.
Yeah.
Just
Okay.
at the end. This is Nona Pia's balsamic glaze. And I think this one is imported from Italy. You can really find a lot of these around. And really what I like about it is there's no sugar. So 7 grams and a bit, the natural sugar. So if you're trying to look at be amazing and eating a little healthy, it's a great way to do that. And I use a lot of balsamic vinegars. So I'm going to end on talking about a couple of fun things in our board that we have out here. Because we've got so many great ingredients that we have. Oh, here we go. We've got a little treat, and I'm going to heat them up, that we got from Deli Sewer. Can you put the puffs in there? Oh, thanks, Mom. So we're going to talk a little bit about some local vendors as we get our last pieces of our wonderful tapas bar together. And I'm just going to pull it forward so all of you can get a better view of this great board that we have. And what I've done is I've added a lot of things that we just love and connect the different pieces of food together. And one of the things that I think is really important, look at the beautiful Mom, is fruit. So adding a little bit of fruit, you can use some jams, which are wonderful. You can buy a lot of already made fruits and jams. I was again at the Arabia store yesterday where I love to buy my fresh fruit in Moncton. And they have these, look at that, absolutely beautiful apricots. And I thought, well, these are going to be really nice on my board. And I can feel how they're ready. And what we want to do is add a little sweet and add a little bit of that fruit and fresh when you're doing these boards, because it really makes a little bit of a lot of difference in that flavor and what's going on. So Mom's got that steak resting. We always say, let the steak take a nap. Please do not take a hot steak out of a pan and cut it right away, because the first few bites will be amazing and then all the juice will run out of it. So just as a little bit of a pre-warning on that one. Things out of my way. So we're going to build up this. We've got our cheese puffs here. I think it's always great. Look at this and my little tagine. We've got some beautiful olives. Olives are always amazing to have. And I've got this little cheese board. I love it because I bought the board in Chile when I visited there. But on here, how beautiful does this look? This is from the Masstown Creamery in Nova Scotia. I always stop there when I'm driving between Halifax or Lunenburg to here. And this is a beautiful aged cheddar. And it says it has ash or something. So great color. This is a chipotle. Beautiful. I look at the green. Wasabi cheese. And then over here, we've got a spicy, it's called a spicy Moroccan cheese. And so we've got a little bit of mild, and it's always nice to have that. Add some color to your boards. So this is really tapas, could sit, relax. I love it. I made this cup with one of our local pottery people. I've got pickles in there. So you've got your dill pickles. This one here, this is made by Funday Mud Pottery. Hi, Jim. And I've got this open because I'm going to be able to put some dip in it that I'm going to be using for our crackers. And I put out this amazing jelly, and it's a hot pepper jelly. Hopefully you can see that. I get this up at the Bucktoosh Farmers Market, and you can see all the chilies in it, but it's sweet and it's heat. So it's really nice to put your favorite different types of jellies and jams on there. And of course, these wonderful Venezuelan taquitos, and they're wrapped in a beautiful wrapper, and it's cheese inside. My mom's behind me just shaking her head over and over again at those. Mom, those wraps need to come out. I think one's getting a little crispy. So we'll get that on there. I've also made sure, and I've got to take it out, we put some of this really great garlic sauce. So in each of the little spoons, we've got some garlic sauces for dipping and different things. That's a hot burner. And I always love nuts. So put some nuts out there. There's some almonds here to make that fresh. And we've got some fresh bread, which I will open up afterwards. And I'll cut up the apples just before we're going to eat them. And a little trick with that is put a little either lemon or lime juice on your apples. And I think that you'll find that they'll keep longer when you're putting it out on your boards. So Mom's just got those out. We were just looking. I think the oven was hot. Let me make sure the Brussels sprouts are in the middle. And if you could pass me the steak. Oh, look, another cheese bite. I might have eaten the most. You should know we're laughing. It's maybe the recipe I've had the most snacks on. So we'll be posting that recipe. Jawad does an amazing job each week of pulling some of the recipes together. Check them out. And when you make it at home, let us know what you thought, because we really want to feel that good connection. So our last pieces of our tapas bar, to me, you need a few chips. But I found these ones are called Hard Bite. You can see this great Canadian flag at the top. Rock salt and vinegar, but check it out. They have pictures. And this is in Tofino, British Columbia. And I love it. And this one at first I thought was the Hopewell Rocks down by here in Atlantic Canada. But that actually is Stanley Park in British Columbia. So we're going to add a little West Coast onto our table. And we look. And of course, what do we always say? Open the bags beforehand, Michelle. You're filming a live show. Oh, watch out, Mom. And now I'm going to do it dangerously with a knife. That's what not to do, viewers. So we'll get that bag open. And I have a feeling these chips are going to be awesome. Don't those look amazing, Mom?
Oh, good.
And we know they're delicious because we taste tested them last night.
Yeah.
But I did a little bit the mushroom one. We might have to taste test. So I'm going to put a few chips in the cup. Those are delicious flavors. So thank you, Hard Bite British Columbia, for having those here. So here we go, Mom. Our last few things. Have a look at these. And I think you can see the steam still coming out of them. They look absolutely perfect. I think this one, oh, they're hot. This, I'm going to cut it versus with my fingers. Oh, yeah. And that's got the cheese, the mushrooms, that little bit of brie cheese in there, and that wonderful puff pastry. Mom's got it. There's a nice light crust on the bottom. Wow. I'm not going to bite it right now because in all honesty, I really think I'm going to burn my mouth. So we'll wait a second on that. But I'm just going to cut a couple of pieces. They're sliding off the plate too. Mom's got that steak perfectly seared. It looks really, really lovely. And what I want to make sure that I do is I'm just going to cut. That's perfect. It's rested. And I'm just going to make sure that I'm going to take the edge of my knife and cut that in a thin slice. So this way, when we're putting it out, well done, Mom. Gotta love a steak when it comes out just as you want it. I have to tell you, it's almost falling apart as I'm cutting it because it had that beautiful marinade on it all night. So I hope you enjoy some great food. Thank you so much for coming into our kitchen each and every Sunday. And next week, we're extra excited because we're going to have some guest cooks here. We love to feature different countries. Shinobu cooked with us for Japan. And we have our wonderful good friend, Elena, who's going to be coming in to cook with us to show us some Russian recipes. There we go. Look at that steak. I love seeing the reactions with some of our Zoom viewers. And Sheena, we're going to get you to unmute and show that beautiful dish again. Wow. And we just really want to say thanks, right, Mom?
Yes.
Come in any Sunday, watch us on YouTube, follow us along, share with your friends. We're going to be talking more about some more music coming up. Make sure you're following along on all the music that we're going to be promoting. And we're excited to just keep connecting people with culture and food and generations of love.
Right.
Right?
And
So-
happy Father's Day again to all dads.
Right? And my dad would love that steak. Sheena, say something to us so we could see that beautiful dish.
Oh, hello. So here I'm getting ready to eat my meal. I have my plantain. My fish is beautiful. And my dumplings, my sweet potato, and my sorrel drink.
Nice.
Absolutely perfect. Show us your smile there, Sheena.
Fathers, happy Father's Day.
Right? Cheers, cheers. Show us your beautiful smile as we say goodbye. Go see Sheena at MacArthur's Flower Shop and she'll create some wonders. Tell the team, tell Annie, we're looking forward to seeing her.
Yes, sure.
Thanks, everybody. Have an awesome day.
Bye.